Okay,
So,
I got Gojo. I think he wins. Why do you think Sukuna wins No Ten Shadows? Like, what is win cons, etc.
um, so I have two. One, I think he wins through domains, and the other, it's I don't think Gojo's RCT can match his maximum output. I'm over Sean.
Maximum output of what?
I'm over Sean.
Do you think Sukuna was holding back output during the on-screen fight?
Yeah, yeah. The second
Why?
domain clash, Gojo comments on his output rising, which gives an implication that the initial output that he was using in the first domain clash wasn't at maximum.
Well, no, he says that because as we know, that Sukuna uses a binding vow to increase the output of his
Yeah,
outside slashes. Hey, Emmanuel, we got Ja. He's judging. You can go back to Fortnite.
no,
OG.
I already
Oh, you're gonna
finished
say,
it.
yeah, okay. Anyways, for the second clash, Sukuna used a binding vow in order to increase the output of his outside flashes by completely turning off his sure hit on the inside of the domain. So I don't think that, um, like say for example, say there is no inside of the domain, like because Gojo's domain is already destroyed. I don't believe that that binding vow would still be viable, etc. Because there's no two separate sure hits to turn off and on.
Gotcha. Okay. I guess we'll get on to the other one then. Yeah, he
Okay,
goes through
yeah. As
domain.
for the domain clashes, I think that once Gojo shrinks his domain, I don't see Sukuna. I don't see Sukuna having a way to destroy, I guess, the inside of the domain without maybe the Shikigami.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you think that Sukuna has a way to destroy the inside of the domain, you can enlighten me. I'm
Um,
sure I'm aware that like, Gojo comments like, "Why isn't he breaking from the inside?" I think that when he says that, he's referring to Sukuna summoning a Shikigami to break it because we know that Gojo is waiting for Sukuna to use Maharaga so he can one-shot him.
mhm.
So I don't think he's referring to just Sukuna slashes.
Gotcha. No, I was actually referring to him outlasting the 3 minute time limit that Gojo's relying on.
Okay.
Basically, going into the domain clashes, he did confirm that he was using the 10 shadows. So
Right.
it goes to show that for him to use the 10 shadows, he would need to limit his use of domain amplification, which means that his limited use of domain amplification still pushed Gojo to 3 minutes to break his domain properly.
Right.
So if you were to take 10 shadows out of the equation, then he can use domain amplification more, which would naturally outlast the time limit.
All right. I don't think that that is too true because we see that Gojo is able to go rail with a Sukuna using domain amplification. No, not domain amplification. He's without any CT because he's in CT burnout. He's able to go rail with a Sukuna who's domain amped, along with we don't have like a time limit of when Sukuna is using domain amplification within the domains. I want to say most of the time that it's on screen in the domain, we see Sukuna using domain amplification, which is why he can punch him, interact from block his punches, etc., etc. I think that it's more likely that Sukuna was like starting off the clashes without amplification on and then turning it and then turning it on, which is why it took Maharaga 5. Was it 5 domains? Yeah, 5 domains to fully adapt. I think that he was turning it on and off like in quick jitters, or it was off in the beginning and on for the rest of the domain. I don't think that Sukuna was just raw dogging domains without domain amplification, which is why Gojo brings it up that why is he doing that? That's a major disadvantage.
Um, no, I don't think he wasn't using domain amplification. I do think he was. I'm just saying that his use of it was limited to a certain extent because for
Right, right.
Maharaga
I
to
understand that. I'm
adapt,
just saying that
yeah,
Sukuna having it on for the entire time wouldn't isn't changing like the time limit that he lasts because he still has it on for most of the domain.
mm,
So I mean, if you want to say that I'll give him if you want to say like the first 30 seconds of without it
mm.
on, so Mahar can adapt is a major difference. I I just don't think that's the case.
So,
Especially
what ex-
considering the way that Gojo is beating him in these clashes in hand to hand. Like when even when Gojo is breaking Sukuna's domain, he's literally punching through two-hand guards and going through his chest. I think it's pretty congruent to confirm Sukuna has on dominification in those scenarios.
Gotcha. To give insight to what you're saying about him being relative, I guess, is there any way that you can tell when or how long Sukuna has domain amplification on? Because I feel like the entire reasoning for why he prolonged the domain clash for the duration of it was for Mahaga to adapt.
No, so this is the best way to tell usually is Sukuna has an aura around him, or they're clashing, or he's in a motion to attack Gojo, right? Because if he's not in a motion to attack Gojo, he's on defense. And if they are clashing, they usually have some type of aura around a fist, right? Those are my main ways to tell. Sometimes there's no aura, right? So there's an instance where when Gojo's using blue, he turns on dominification to do like a front flip kick. But it's usually just when Sukuna's like attacking back or something of that nature.
Gotcha. So so when Gojo commented on Sukuna taking riskier options during the domain clash, do you know what he means by that?
Yes, I touched this in a little bit in the beginning. I believe that Gojo thought that it's a safer option for Sukuna to use a Shikigami to break the inside of the domain, because Gojo comments that he's only using the technique etched into his domain expansion, which would be cleave and dismantle, right? So Gojo knows that he can use to the 10 shadows while his domain is up, right? He doesn't know that that Sukuna is actually doing that. He doesn't know that because he doesn't have the info on Sukuna that Sukuna has on him. So in Gojo's mind, it'd be much easier for Sukuna to just use the Shikigami and break the inside and then win the domain clashes. But for Sukuna knows that it'd be easier for him to have Maharaga adapt to this domain expansion so he can fully get rid of it.
Okay. Right. So you don't think that what he means by risky is that he's giving Gojo a time window, like a big enough time window for him to stalemate the domain clash rather than just, utilizing the initial...
because that's what Gojo's asking to himself, why isn't Sukuna breaking it from the inside? Because Gojo has flipped the domain conditions, right? So the inside would be easier to break. So in Gojo's head, summon a Shikigami punch. We know that a Yuji punch season 1 can break a domain from the outside because the outside's weak. So if you flip the conditions, should be the same shit, right? So use Shikigami, punch the bottom of the domain, and then Gojo's back in the situation where he has to outheal Malevolent Shrine. But Gojo doesn't know that Sukuna's plan, which Sukuna deems better for himself, is to have Maharaga adapt to these domains so that he can fully get rid of Unlimited Void.
Gotcha. Okay. Back to the domain amplification point. I don't think the duration of when he was using it in the domain clash matters. I feel like whether how long he used it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, he did at some point have to turn it off so that he can use the 10 Shadows Curse technique. So I feel like with that in mind and how long it took Gojo, which is 3 minutes to break the domain, or at least stalemate it, I do feel like
it's not even 3 minutes every time either, by the way. That's just Gojo's maximum time. Gojo's shown breaking the domain in, what is it, 2 minutes? The first time he did it was 2 minutes, 46 seconds. The second time it was even shorter than that. That's when he finally hit Sukuna with the domain. So that's just the maximum amount of time. Sukuna doesn't last 3 minutes every single time.
Wait, what do you mean 2 minutes and 46 seconds? Which one is that?
So Gojo breaks, they tie, right? And then they domain clash again, and that one lasts 2 minutes and 46 seconds. They tie again, and then they expand their domains again, right? And then Gojo immediately donuts Sukuna because he, of course, activated his, what was it, like a millisecond faster? And that was instantaneously. I want to say, instantaneously. So Sukuna is not shown on screen, always lasting 3 minutes. The time varies. It just depends on if Gojo can damage Sukuna in this blah 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 amount of time. And I wasn't saying that like the amount of time that Sukuna has dominification active is like a hard will Sukuna in the last 3 minutes or not. I'm saying that if Sukuna had it active the entire time, because of course he's not trying to adapt Maharaga, it wouldn't change the amount of time that he lasts. Because
Okay.
Gojo's still shown out performing him even when he has dominification on.
Right. The 2 minutes and 46 seconds. I'm kind of confused on that. How exactly are you able to tell?
Mei says it in like chapter 232 right before he hits. It's like in 2 minutes and 46 seconds since the last domain expansion. This, and that. I can't remember the entire statement. If you want me to read it out, I can go find it for you.
Was it chapter 228?
Maybe chapter 232.
232?
No, that's the Black Flash. 229, I want to say.
Um, you said Maymay's the one that said it?
Here he is. Inside Gojo Satoru's domain, 2 minutes and 40 seconds after the last domain expansion, Moon Shrine collapsed. Right, and then
2 minutes and
destroys it, and the
40 seconds.
Maharaga comes out. So it might have not been Maybe, it might have just been the narrator. Either way, it wasn't the full 3
Okay.
minutes, which is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, so last they expanded their domains. Wouldn't they be talking about the current domain class that they're in right now rather than the last one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so there was only one domain class that he lasted less than 3 minutes. Not
Let me just make sure I'm reading this right. There's domain clash here. It breaks.
the way
Okay,
he
yeah, no,
phrases it.
never mind.
Yeah.
I am correct with my first thought. The first domain clash in the chapter, I believe that narrative statement is predicated towards that one, because in the second one, where Sukuna is hit by a domain, by the fucking infinite void, that was a millisecond, correct? And Sukuna, you can see Sukuna being stunned by it, and then he gets donutted. So I believe that this inside goes section to blah blah blah. That would be. I don't think that 2 minute 40 seconds is talking about that specific domain expansion that he finally got hit with. Unless Sukuna like tanked the heart destruction for 2 minutes and 40 seconds. I don't think that's what that statement's talking about.
Okay. Is he in the body? Okay. So let's take away Wait, I don't get how this validates your point. So like I know you're utilizing Gojo questioning his heart as evidence for your first thought being correct, but I don't see how that really works. I mean, what if that's only a momentary thing in the narrator?
You mean like what if they? Because if I'm looking at the positioning of these panels, right? They expand their domain. Sukuna's on the wall. You see the point at which Gojo's domain, encloses Sukuna's shrine, right?
Yeah.
And then he's standing right in front of him. Maybe a lot of the fight happened off panel, but I'm more willing to believe that Gojo immediately punched him in the heart once he realized that his domain landed a millisecond faster.
Okay. Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying now. All right. Okay, that's fair. Right. So you think that 2 straight domain classes to kind of lasted less than
3 minutes, yeah.
Okay. So what does that say for Sukuna's domain? I mean, if Gojo was able to shatter his domain for 3 minutes, wouldn't Sukuna instantly be caught in Gojo's domain?
Yeah, and that's. I think that if Sukuna gets caught in limited void with no adapted Maharaga, then he loses.
Okay, so the initial domain clash in the chapter is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think domains go at the same time. So are you also saying that Sukuna can somehow break Gojo's domain in less than 3 seconds? Maybe 3 minutes? So,
I don't think so. I think that Gojo has a time limit of 3 minutes. I think they both have a time limit of 3 minutes, but Gojo has to break it before 3 minutes. So if Sukuna lasts like 3 minutes and 1 second, yeah, he's gonna get Gojo in that situation again, to where Gojo has to outheal his Maleficent Shrine. But
right.
I think that Gojo they either no, I'm correct. Yeah, Gojo has to break it before 3 minutes. So
Yeah.
Sukuna isn't lasting 3 minutes this entire time unless Gojo broke his domain at exactly 3 minutes. Because they did tie the first mini domain, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying. Like, do you think Sukuna can probably break Gojo's domain in less than 3 minutes too? Or is it just
If Sukuna, I believe that Sukuna can do that one time, right? I think that Sukuna got it off in the second domain clash where he, not even gonna lie, I think I'm just gonna say blitzed Gojo and teleported behind him, grabbed him with dominification, and used the binding vow. But I don't think that Gojo's gonna let that slide more than once.
Gotcha? So I'm talking about in chapter 229. Like, both of their domains collapse at the same time. So
Right.
I'm saying if your initial thought is that, go ahead.
Right, and I believe that. No, I already said what I think of that. I think are you asking me like?
No, because you're saying that in the first domain clash of that chapter, Gojo managed to break Leveler's Shrine in less than 3 minutes. So I'm saying that both of their domains collapsed at the same time.
Oh, okay, then yeah, Sukuna can definitely break Gojo's domain in less than 3 minutes as well.
Okay, so the last domain clash that they had where Sukuna got caught by Gojo's domain, you don't think his domain played any part in that? You just thought that.
What do you mean?
Last domain clash where
Right.
Gojo was able to expand his domain 0.1 seconds before Sukuna. You don't think any of that had any influence in Sukuna's domain breaking early, or do you think that the regular events happen, which led to breaking before 3 minutes?
Can you say that one more time? I don't know if it's my headphones, but like you're really muffled for me.
Hold on. Hear me now?
Yeah, actually much better.
All right. I was asking if in the last domain clash that they had where Sukuna got hit by Unlimited Void,
right?
I was asking if Sukuna expanding his domain like 0.1 seconds later had any influence in that, or do you think that the normal sequence of events happened which led to his domain breaking before 3 minutes?
Do I think that like Sukuna breaking his domain? I think the reason he expanded his domain shorter was because he predicated his RCT to the wrong thing. I don't think that the clash itself had anything to do with it. I think that they have different win conditions, right? Sukuna was destined to have to RCT himself because all Sukuna has to do is break Gojo's domain, but Gojo has to physically damage Sukuna.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that the domain clashes are the reason that Sukuna lost that last clash.
So Sukuna expanding his domain like later than Gojo doesn't have any influence in him ultimately losing the class.
Yeah, I think that he lost it instantly because of that.
Okay, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
So,
like if he wasn't getting hit if he didn't get hit with the Unlimited Void, then yeah, they probably would have won another 30 minutes, and he would have won the fight.
Okay, so that's pretty much what I'm saying here. In the first domain class where they both broke each other's domains at the same time, which means that not only Gojo can inflict enough damage on Sukuna to the point where he can't hold his domain before 3 minutes. The same thing can be on Sukuna where he can damage Gojo's domain so that it doesn't hold up for 3 minutes. I'm saying like what is the outlier here that gives Gojo an advantage over Sukuna here? Because if Sukuna can break Gojo's domain in under 3 minutes, then I don't see where Gojo's win con comes.
I think that wait, so you said say it one more time. I'm not tracking.
Right.
If Sukuna can break Gojo's domain in before 3 minutes, what is Gojo's win con? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, because you're saying that Gojo can inflict enough damage onto Sukuna before 3 minutes, but I'm saying that Sukuna proved that he can break Gojo's domain before 3
Right.
minutes as
Okay.
well.
So that's what my win con is. I think Gojo can inflict enough damage on Sukuna to where he's put into that situation that he was put into 229 again.
Where he got caught by the domain?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
that's where I'm saying.
that's why we spent that much time on domainification, and we agreed it didn't make that much of a difference. So I think that Gojo can inflict the same amount of damage that he did on Sukuna, which is basically just what he impaled him through 2 hand guards. So Sukuna had both his hands covering his heart, still got his chest destroyed. I think that Gojo can replicate that and put Sukuna back in that situation 229.
So that attack that Gojo did only amounted to a 0.1 second difference, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I do feel like, for the most part, that one moment of damage that Gojo did isn't the only amount of damage that he did onto Sukuna. I think other
Yeah.
attacks that he had on Sukuna before that point.
Yeah, I agree. I believe I agree Sukuna's a fucking tank, right? He can tank a fucking lot. But I think that getting his chest destroyed in whatever way, because that's what broke his domain the first however many times it broke his domain. I think that that's something Gojo can replicate.
So it's not
pretty
just
consistently.
that one attack to his heart. It's amalgamation of damage that he's doing over.
Yeah, sure.
So,
well, actually, do I want? Hold on. Let me just look over this real quick because I wouldn't say it beyond Sukuna to be using domain. If I'm sorry, RCT while he's in the domain. All right, so I'm on chapter 230. Let me go back to 229. Like the damage that it takes to break a domain, I don't think that it's accumulative. I think that it has to be enough at the same time to break the domain. Like if Sukuna's just using RCT while he's in the domain, I don't think that the domain's gonna break. It has to be, from my interpretation, is it has to be a great enough amount of damage to cause the domain to break. So I get what you're saying, but it could be accumulative. Like yeah, when Gojo breaks Sukuna's chest in, Sukuna is healed here. He has no scratch marks, no blood, no nothing. So I don't think that. I do think that it's just the chest destruction that breaks his domain every time.
So it's not amalgamation of attacks that he took over that duration. You just think it's that one attack?
Yeah, because I believe that Sukuna's using RCT here.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really understand that. So if Gojo's capable of doing that a lot, then wouldn't he have caught Sukuna in his domain a lot earlier? Like if he just had damage his heart.
He did this. He destroyed Sukuna's chest from what I've seen here in just 2 chapters twice in a row. Second time, of course, because Sukuna was low-key stunned. If he did it the first domain that they tied, I'm willing to just conclude that Gojo can recreate this amount of damage. And yeah, he did, because we could see that when Sukuna domain breaks off screen, he comes out of the domain with a hole in his chest.
Right. So that's basically what I'm saying here. He did the same in chapter 228, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and despite him doing the same thing, Sukuna was not only able to heal on time, but also expand his domain at the same time that Gojo did. So I'm saying that.
Yeah, that's simply because they fought more after. The first time that the off-screen domain clash, he destroys his domain by destroying his chest. The second one, He destroys his
Mhm.
domain by destroying his chest. And then during the second one, that's when Gojo says, okay, I'm going to quick fire my fucking domain at him. Right? And we see that Sukuna was late. But the first time
Yeah.
they fight after he destroys his domain. And
Mm-hmm.
then the second time, they don't. Right? He destroys his domain and then hits him a singular time and expands his domain. And that's what makes Sukuna late. But the first time he had time to recover his RCT and et cetera, et cetera. So I think that Gojo, being as adaptive as he was, he realized that he can beat Sukuna in speed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did.
Gotcha. So, to understand your point, that one attack to the heart is enough to break Sukuna's domain.
Yeah.
And he only needs to do that to shatter him level and shrine.
Yeah.
Okay. That doesn't make sense, I'm not gonna lie. Mm. I still got a question.
Okay.
All right. So the first time he tried this heart attack in chapter 228, right?
Right.
And the domain clash after that, he was able to heal, but Gojo didn't go for the heart attack.
What do you mean? No, in 228, the fight in that domain happens off screen, I'm pretty sure. Right?
Yeah.
And then they fight for a little bit after the domain breaks. Like you'll see Sukuna running on debris and all that good stuff. Right? And that time is where Sukuna used RCT to heal himself. And then they did the same, they domain clashed again, and Gojo destroyed his domain the same way. But Gojo, since we see through the fight, Gojo is seeing what works for him, right? So the first time he flips his domain condition, but it's still the big ass domain gets broken because of the binding vow. Gojo saw that, you know, he's faster than Sukuna with his RCT, and so he quick fired his domain. And since he quick fired it the second time that he destroyed his domain, Sukuna used the RCT late. And so that's what I'm saying.
Did he target Sukuna's heart in the fourth domain clash? Did he target his heart?
The fourth one? Like the one that he won?
Yeah, like the main class before Sukuna got hit by Limited Void.
Yeah, he did. You could see Sukuna. That's what I was talking about. Sukuna's guarding his chest with two hands, and Gojo punches through it and breaks the domain. And then right when he does that, he punches Sukuna one more time and quickfires his domain.
Punch through his hands?
Yeah. That's going to be in chapter 229. You'll see Sukuna's guarding with both his hands. Gojo's aiming